The Ravens have talent, they have stars, and they remain one of the most respected teams in the NFL. But there's one problem that, in my opinion, is preventing this team from reaching an even higher level. And the most interesting part is that a lot of people don't realize how much this issue is impacting Baltimore when they only look at the final results of the season. The more I looked into the numbers, the clearer it became that this one detail helps explain a lot of what happened in 2025. And what caught my attention even more is that one of the most respected coaches in the NFL recently pointed out the same thing. What's up, Flock? My name is Tiago. I'm a Brazilian Ravens fan, and welcome back to Purple Flock TV. When we look at the Ravens numbers from last season, there is one detail that, in my opinion, helps explain many of the struggles this team faced. The offense was able to create 68 explosive plays, which are plays of 20 or more yards that can completely change the direction of a game. These are the moments that get fans out of their seats and put pressure on any defense in the NFL. But there is an important detail in this situation. While the offense was creating those big plays, the defense was allowing even more on the other side of the field. The Ravens gave up 76 explosive plays during the season and finished with a negative differential in this category. When I saw that number for the first time, I have to admit, a lot of things started to make more sense. The interesting part is that this is not just one person's opinion. Rams head coach Sean McVay highlighted this point when talking about the metrics that help explain why teams succeed. At one point, he said, "Everybody wants to talk about EPA. A big part of that number comes from your explosive play margin." That quote stands out because it shows that creating big plays is only half the battle. You also have to stop your opponents from doing the same thing. And when we look at the best teams in the NFL last season, this pattern keeps showing up. The teams that went the furthest almost always had a positive explosive play differential. That's why I believe the biggest challenge for the Ravens in 2026 is not only about improving the offense. The priority is making the defense stop giving away those opportunities. And that is where new head coach Jesse Minter comes in, with a very clear mission ahead of him. One of the things that caught my attention the most was Sean McVay's perspective on modern football. These days, a lot of people love talking about advanced statistics, complicated numbers, and different metrics that try to explain why a team wins or loses. But McVay brought a different perspective and pointed out something he believes deserves more attention. At one point, he said, "Everybody wants to talk about EPA. A big part of that number comes from your explosive play margin." And I have to admit, that quote made me stop and think, because at the end of the day, we are talking about the plays that truly change games. Those moments when a team gains dozens of yards in one snap and suddenly puts the entire opposing defense under pressure. The interesting thing is that this concept sounds simple when someone explains it, but often gets overlooked. A team can execute several good plays and slowly move down the field, but one 40-yard bomb or one run that breaks through the defense can have a bigger impact than an entire drive built on short gains. And when we connect this idea to the Ravens, the conversation becomes even more important. Baltimore showed that it has the ability to create explosive plays, but the team also struggled when opponents found ways to answer with big plays of their own. And that brings us to a key piece of Baltimore's future, Jesse Minter, the man responsible for changing this reality. The arrival of Jesse Minter in Baltimore represents much more than a simple coaching change. In my opinion, the Ravens brought in someone with a very specific mission: solve a problem that became obvious throughout last season. And looking at his background, there's a reason to believe this decision was made with that challenge in mind. Throughout his career, Minter has worked alongside coaches known for building disciplined and highly organized offenses. Names like Mike McDonald and the Harbaugh brothers helped shape a defensive philosophy focused on controlling space, maintaining proper positioning, and reducing mistakes. The goal is simple: force opponents to move down the field little by little without giving up those game-changing plays that can flip everything in seconds. You only need to look at one number to understand why this change became so important. 76 explosive plays allowed by the Ravens in 2025. To me, this is one of those statistics that tells an entire story without needing much explanation. Every one of those plays represented a chance for an opponent to gain quick yardage, put points on the board, or take control of the momentum. The most interesting part is that this defensive philosophy has already produced results in other areas of the NFL. Teams connected to the same style of football have performed much better in this category and limited the damage caused by opposing offenses. Now, the question is how quickly Minter can bring that identity to Baltimore. And while he works on strengthening the defense, another important change is happening on the Ravens' offense. Another thing that caught my attention was the possible change in offensive identity for the Ravens. A lot of that expectation is connected to Declan Doyle, Baltimore's new offensive coordinator. While many people are focused on the defense, one of the biggest changes could actually happen on the other side of the ball. Doyle has worked in environments led by coaches known for creativity and aggressive offensive philosophies. Sean Payton and Ben Johnson helped shape the way he sees the game. These are coaches who like creating advantages before the snap, using constant motion to confuse defenses and create opportunities for their most talented players. The numbers help show this difference. Last season, the Rams used motion on 63% of their offensive plays. The Bears were right behind them at 61%. The Ravens, meanwhile, were at 52%. It might not seem like a huge difference, but those movements can create favorable matchups and increase the chances of generating explosive plays. And there is one detail I found especially interesting. When talking about explosive teams, Sean McVay specifically mentioned Zay Flowers and Lamar Jackson. He said, when you have explosive playmakers like Zay Flowers and Lamar, those opportunities to be aggressive increase. When a coach with McVay's reputation sees that type of potential in the Ravens roster, it is worth paying attention, because the numbers show that the most dangerous teams in the NFL are usually the ones that know how to turn talent into game-changing plays.
If you're enjoying this breakdown, smash that like button to help the purple flock grow.
One thing I like to do when I see an argument like this is check whether the numbers actually support the idea. It is easy to say explosive plays are important. The real question is whether the results on the field confirm it. And when we look at last season's data, the answer becomes pretty clear. The Patriots finished 2025 with a positive differential of 34 explosive plays. The Seahawks and Bills both finished at plus 26. The Rams and Chargers were also among the NFL leaders in this category. What stands out is that all these teams were able to combine two important things: creating big plays on offense and limiting those same opportunities while playing defense. Now look at the other side of the rankings. The Jets and Browns were among the worst teams in the league in this statistic. The Ravens were also near the bottom, finishing the season with a negative differential of 8. The offense created 68 explosive plays, but the defense allowed 76. When that happens, a team spends a large part of the season trying to recover from mistakes that could have been avoided. Maybe the most surprising number is this: only one team with a negative explosive play differential reached the playoffs in 2025. That shows how much of a disadvantage this problem creates. And seeing Baltimore so far away from the top teams in this category makes it easier to understand why Jesse Minter has made this one of the priorities in rebuilding the defense. The Ravens have one of the most talented foundations in the NFL, but the numbers show there is one area that needs to be fixed quickly. The explosive play differential was one of Baltimore's biggest problems in 2025, and improving in this area could completely change the team's performance in 2026. In my opinion, the arrival of Jesse Minter and the potential evolution of the offense under Declan Doyle show that the organization already understands where it needs to improve. The most interesting part is that the solution does not require a complete roster overhaul. The Ravens already have players capable of creating explosive plays, like Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers. The challenge now is turning that talent into consistent advantages, while the defense works to prevent opponents from doing the same. To me, that balance could be the difference between another competitive season and a true championship run. Now I want to hear your opinion. Do you believe explosive play differential is the biggest issue the Ravens need to fix in 2026, or is there another area where Baltimore needs to improve the most? Leave your comment below, because I want to know what the flock thinks.
And if you're a true Ravens fan and love keeping up with everything happening around the team, don't leave this video without sharing it with a friend who's just as passionate. They're definitely going to enjoy this. See those videos on your screen right now? I picked the first one especially for you, and the other is recommended by YouTube. Go check them out, and I'll see you in the next video.